Britain spent millions funding foreign digital IDs before announcing plans for the UK scheme. So obviously over the past month we've been hearing a lot about digital identification, but as it turns out the UK government have actually been investigating it and looking into it and funding it in other countries far before they ever told us about it. UK taxpayers funded trials for the controversial scheme in 2 countries prior to the announcement this September. The British government has been found to have spent millions funding foreign digital IDs before announcing plans for the UK scheme. The Foreign Office used tax cash to fund controversial schemes in 2 countries over multiple years. Lewis Brackpool of Rupert Lowe's Restore Britain, as Director of Investigations, told Bev Turner on GB News The Late Show Live. Now, you may know of Lewis Brackpool. We actually spoke about him recently. He sent out a Freedom of Information request to the UK government for information basically about who has a financial interest in like asylum hotels, i.e. for example, if someone writes a legislation saying asylums have to be held in this particular hotel, does anyone in the government actually own shares in that business? Basically, it was a Freedom of Information request to find out if it's actually being done properly and if there's proper transparency in place. And interestingly, the UK government denied the Freedom of Information request and we are still none the wiser. Now, Lewis Brackpool recently has been sending out loads of these different information requests to the UK government to basically try and find out different things that the UK government haven't been transparent on. Now, in the case of digital ID, he sent a Freedom of Information request to find out exactly if the UK government were investing in digital ID in other countries. And there was a bit of talk and murmurings about this online beforehand, and people said it's a bit of a silly thing to look into because it's not going to happen. Well, as it turned out, the UK government was. And we'll talk a bit later about why this is a problem, but very quickly, if you're looking for a VPN, make sure you check out Private Internet Access. Private Internet Access allows you to access content from other countries. For me personally, I watch the American Netflix using Private Internet Access because it's way better than the British Netflix. Honestly, what is the watered down drivel that we get in the UK? Not only do you get access to other content and other news articles and other sources of information through Private Internet Access, also Private Internet Access aren't keeping any logs on you at all. So you are browsing privately. If you want to get yourselves 4 months free and 86% off, make sure you check the link down below. Now let's get back to the article. Mr. Brackpool revealed the group had obtained documents from the Foreign Office regarding the funding. He said the document confirms that the UK is funding and designing governance and digital ID infrastructure overseas for foreign nations, not just for Britain. These programs are run through the United Nations Development Programme and are funded by the UK's Good Governance Fund. According to the FCDO's website, the GGF works primarily in Eastern Europe and the Western Balkans, and supports the states to become more resilient to external and internal shocks, both political and economic, and hence support growth, stability and poverty reduction. Mr. Brackpool confirmed the UK funding had totaled £3.8 million between 2021 and 2025, and focused on 2 countries, Bosnia and Herzegovina and Georgia. Bosnia and Herzegovina launched the scheme earlier this year, under which citizens are able to access the ID card, driver's license and passport in a digital identity app. I've probably butchered the name Herzegovina. That's really hard to say. Bosnians can also check for traffic fines, penalties and other administrative procedures, such as requests submitted to public institutions. It is understood the Bosnian government is aiming to attract over 500,000 users within the first year, which would equate to more than 17% of its 2.9 million strong population. Mr. Brackpool said the funding for the scheme from the UK government is around 2.7 million and includes creation of national e-service portals and frameworks, as well as the development of digital IDs and e-payment networks. I think we need to read between the lines a little bit here, because obviously the UK government haven't put out an official statement of what their intention is and how they actually operated this procedure. All we have is the Freedom of Information request and what that resulted in. But it's very clear that the UK government have been trialling digital ID in other countries first. Now, obviously that raises many different questions about the security of other countries, like should other countries really have our government accessing their database? Shouldn't their government be managing their database? Maybe they are, I don't know, that raises some questions there. But also to add to that, why? I understand the UK government being involved with some security elements of other countries. For example, when it comes to making sure those regions are stabilised, for example, making sure that they have infrastructure in place. And I don't think that necessarily has to be financially aided. I think in many respects that can be purely on an educational and advisory basis. You don't need to send money to these countries. You need to send a couple of people over that understand various infrastructure systems. But the fact that the UK government, unbeknownst to us, were using our taxpayer money to fund something that we never voted for something that we don't want in the UK, to be instituted into another country as a case study is very interesting. Also as well, I don't know much about Bosnia and Georgia. I'm not going to pretend like I do. But it's very fair to assume that governmentally and culturally, those countries are probably very different from the UK. And in Georgia, maybe their relationship with government is very different to the UK. So implementing an ID scheme that for the most part revolves around people willingly signing up to it and being a part of it into a country where maybe people might be more incentivized or less incentivized to sign up to it seems like a bit of a useless case study for what we're going to be expecting to see with the UK's digital ID scheme. Mr. Brackpool said, "None of us were ever asked for this. This has been a project that's been pushed for a long time. The Tony Blair Institute has been really pushing after the mid-2000s when Tony Blair's push for national ID cards didn't go through in the Houses of Parliament. It's almost like vengeance now." Now here's the thing as well, there wasn't much information about digital ID like for the past couple of years. Obviously it's been a pretty dead topic and not really something that we thought would happen. Obviously they tried to introduce it in the early 2000s, everyone said no, it was left, it was dead in the water. No one was interested. And then obviously when the announcement came in September about digital identification, we then became aware that during the summer of this year, they were actually holding internal meetings to investigate how they could implement it and what that implementation might look like. Now, over the past few months, that has evolved and changed, but the messaging that's been given across is that basically they are now going to start looking at it, investigating it towards the end of the year, and then they're going to be deciding on how that would be effectively implemented. As it turns out, that's not the case at all. They've been looking into this for years and investing into it in other countries. Obviously, we're going back 4 years here that they've been assisting other countries with the implementation of digital ID, and it's very clear that they have the infrastructure in place to do it, and they've been working on the infrastructure, which to me feels a little bit strange because it means that this was part of the plan way before they said we needed it. Let me explain. Recently, Keir Starmer said that one of the primary focuses of this is to aid in preventing illegal migration into the UK. Now, illegal migration into the UK has always existed. It's not really anything new, but it's got significantly worse over the past 12 to 18 months. Obviously, it's become a point now where, well, it's all over the news all of the time. And obviously, it's a bigger issue that is more widely represented in the UK public, as shown by not just mainstream media, but the conversation around British politics at the moment. Now, when digital ID was announced by Keir Starmer in September, he said that one of the main reasons they wanted to introduce this, and one of the reasons they've been investigating it and working on it, is primarily down to the fact that it will reduce illegal migration into the UK. Because at the moment, that is obviously a narrative that a lot of people in the UK do care about. So he's just latched onto that narrative. As we've now learned that they've been investigating this heavily since 2021. And this also begs the question of, is this a result of Labour? Is this linked to other political parties? Where was this research started? Who authorised it? Why are we funding it more than anything? And to be honest, this was just one freedom of information request. How many more very specific things do we need to ask to get very specific information? Like, this should have just been widely published as and when it was happening. And I haven't found too much about it online at all. I'm very keen to hear what you guys think about this, the UK being involved in foreign governments implementing things like digital ID. Obviously, we are massively against our government at the moment trying to limit our freedoms and track us with digital ID, but it also leaves a bad taste in your mouth thinking they're doing it to other countries too. It's like, why are you shafting other people as well? Like, what is this about? Make sure you check out private internet access at the link down below. If you did enjoy today's video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I shall see you all in the next video.